Well, good morning and welcome to the Los Banos Today, the morning show. My name is Jerry Canuser, and we have with us this morning as a special guest, Mr. Paul Llanez. Mr. Paul Llanez is running for mayor. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, morning. Thanks for having me.
Mr. Llanez was a Los Banos police officer for 17 years and is currently a reserve police officer with the Los Banos Police Department.
Yes.
And is president of the Los Banos Police Association,
Yes.
Officer Association. That's great. And you're also a CEO at the Knowledge Saves Life, Inc. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as well, too. Please, I'm sure the audience don't know you, and some do.
Sure.
So if you would tell the audience who you are, a little bit about you, and why you're running for mayor, and what got you into doing this.
Yeah, so I've lived in Los Banos about 10 years now. I'm married. I have 3 kids. My oldest is 21. He's a senior, starting a senior at UC Santa Barbara. My middle one, she's in 8th grade, about to go to high school. And then I have a 5-year-old who just finished kindergarten. So I've been in law enforcement for, like you said, 17 years, and I've worked with the city. I'm very familiar with the city workings. And now I kind of want to take a role into leadership. I've sat on one side of the table, negotiating police officer union contracts, and now I'm ready to take the next step and see what I can do to benefit the citizens of Los Banos on the other side.
What kind of experience do you think or qualification do you have to become a mayor?
So I don't have any political experience,
Okay.
but I do have leadership experience.
Good.
So my organization that I run now, we have 26 employees in 2 parts of the state. And I'm familiar with budgets. I'm familiar with negotiating. I'm familiar with HR and things like that. And I also am very familiar with what I call evidence-based solutions. So finding what the problem is, finding what evidence it needs to solve it, and then just getting it done. I'm not afraid of research, not afraid of reading, not afraid of 16-hour days. So I think I have what it takes.
You plan on being a career politician?
Absolutely not. No, I can truly say I don't have aspirations to go any further than this. I've just seen that living here for a while now. I think I have some ideas that can cause some progress for our city.
Okay. Now, being here 17 years in this town, if elected, what will you bring to the table for making Los Banos a better place, a safer place, and a viable economic development place for current businesses and attracting new businesses in town?
Yeah, so I've done some research. I see on the city's website they have a list of priorities given by the citizens. And 5 of those 8 priorities were additional resources for the police department. So my first and foremost project would be to start there. We have our police department, we have a patrol schedule, the number of police officers that patrol our streets. And that patrol schedule, the minimum staffing for that hasn't changed since the 80s. And so that's something we need to bring up to speed. So adding additional officers, creating special assignments. We used to have a gang task force position. We no longer do. Bringing some of those back. And then, of course, getting fair market value for our employees to create employee retention. That would be another focus of mine.
Yeah, because I just read recently where we lost a detective to another city.
Two. Yes.
Because of better pay over there. So retention-wise, what are your plans then? More money for them, or?
Well, I think it just needs to be a focus of everything involved. Employee retention. I mean, as a small business owner, that's a huge thing for me.
Is.
It's very expensive to hire and retrain new employees.
That's true.
So to focus on that would be a top priority. But also emergency services, not just police level, but fire and EMS as well. How many firefighters do we have to respond to things? The EMS that's available, the ambulances in the streets, things like that.
Okay, all right. Well, we have Measure H right now. Thank goodness for that. That will help hire some more patrolmen, fire and safety as well, too. So how do you feel about Measure H? Do you think right now Measure H is lump sum with the general fund? Personally, I think it should be a separate fund, fenced in for that. But now it's general fund, so anything that happens out of the general fund.
I think the proponent of Measure H, it should have been a specific tax.
Yes.
I think it should have, the voters should have had the opportunity to read the itemized list of these things that were prioritized.
The Central Valley Geeks, your Microsoft certified computer repair professionals. Here's just some of the services they offer over there at the Geeks. Virus and malware removal, computer and laptop upgrades, either Mac or PC, laptop, screen, keyboard, and battery replacements, remote repair services. That's right, never bring your computer into the computer shop again. The Geeks can fix your computer remotely. Give the Geeks a call today at 209-826-3410. That number again, 209-826-3410. Or stop by their location at 924 6th Street in the heart of Los Banos.
And voted correctly.
Right. Because I voted for that. I'm happy for that. And I'm looking forward to seeing more resources being hired, both fire and safety and firemen as well, too. I'm not sure. I've heard that money was used to buy a lawnmower, for instance, out of that money there, too. I think that might be a misappropriation of those kind of funds. So we do have an oversight committee on that one, too. So I'm hoping they're doing a good job of making sure it doesn't get misused on that. So, okay. Well, thank you for that information there. And then the next question I have, now as mayor, you're going to be working with other city mayors, more experienced mayors there in Merced County. You're working with the Board of Supervisors. You're going to be working with the Merced County Association of Governments. And you're going to be traveling to Sacramento on this One Voice journey over there to speak for Merced County. A lot of peer pressure. These are experienced bigwigs. And so are you going to be intimidated by that?
I don't intimidate easily. I think if I can handle, gang members and things like that and serving search warrants, I don't think I'm going to have any problem with people sitting across the table from me.
Well, will you stand firm and assertively stand up for what's Los Banos?
Absolutely. My views and my goals are not going to change. I'm not going to be peer pressured into, changing objectives, things of that nature. I'm very goal oriented. And the thing too is I want to do enough research to hear what the voice here wants. Right. And then carry that forward. Right. I don't want to take my own, agendas anywhere, because that's not how this works. Because
I think a lot of mayors out there are what's in it for me? What's it for my city? What can I do for my city and stuff like that? And then they drown you out. So I want you to really go out there and be assertive and say, this is what I want for Los Banos. Yeah. And then stand your ground.
And I've been doing that because my values, I've been an unpaid reserve officer with the City of Los Banos. I put on a uniform and a gun like everybody else, and I don't get a paycheck. And I also, negotiate the officers' salaries as a union president on my own time. So I don't have agendas with either one of those things, and I don't look at this will be much different.
All right. Okay. Now, there's two issues right now at the forefront today. A couple of months from now, it might be different issues. But for now, we have the coronavirus and the civil unrest that's happening across the nation right now. Not whether the coronavirus and COVID-19 is real, fake, fear-mongering, that's debatable. But there are people on some city staff that feel masks are required and some don't. The city council just voted to keep 3-2 to keep the mask on. What's your stand on? How would you have voted for that?
I look at it from a business owner standpoint. What does the business owner want to do? I personally, my belief is we shouldn't be forcing that issue on them. I think business owners, if they're responsible enough to own and operate a business and make money, they're responsible enough to make that own decision. If they choose that they want masks in their store, then customers should absolutely abide by that. I personally feel that's an individual decision. And it's also based on the business. Some businesses, restaurants, you can't do that. So I really think it's individually, it should be up to the business owner.
Okay. All right. That's good. And now the unrest, we just had a peaceful march in here where the mayor participated and the chief participated in that peaceful march. I don't know if you think it's right or not, but maybe you can talk about that. Would you have done something different?
Yeah, so first of all, I am 100% support of peaceful protests. I believe wholeheartedly in everyone's right to assemble and their free speech. With that being said, I don't think it's the city or law enforcement's role to participate, so to speak, as too much to protect the local businesses. I'm really glad it was peaceful here and we had no issues, but I think the highest priority should have been to make the business owners feel better. Hey, yes, you can open, you can remain open. This protest shouldn't close your businesses down, and make just the citizens and the business owners feel safer. I think that should be the priority.
Okay, because a lot of businesses were afraid.
Sure.
That something would have been destroyed.
Sure.
And stuff like that. So now there's been calls among the states and cities about defunding or disbanding the police force. What do you think about that?
Well, my initial thought is good luck. You need someone to call for help.
State Farm Insurance. Go see Joe for all your home, auto, and life insurance needs. Give Joe a call today for a free quote. That's right, 209-826-4963. 209-826-4963. We're also brought to you today by La Bodega Bay Furniture. Check out their new website and order your furniture online at labodegabayfurniture.com. That's right, labodegabayfurniture.com. There's a new pizza place in town, Rico's Pizza. Visit them today at 2160 East Pacheco Boulevard in Space K. You can also order your pizza online at orderricospizza.com. That's orderricospizza.com. Go check them out today. They have the biggest pizza in town.
And on our dispatchers and our officers, they do an amazing job.
They are.
And to not have that resource, even though as little a staff that they do now, what they do, I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't imagine, a purge type environment, so to speak. So no, I don't see that happening or being successful in any way.
And you'll fight for that.
Absolutely.
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 Okay. There recently has been an uptick in crime, specifically shooting. Just recently here over by Walmart there. As a police officer, you go by the books. You know exactly what to do and how to handle that. But now as being a mayor, if you are going to be the mayor, you have a bigger role, a much bigger picture. And you got to find ways now to curb the violence. And what plans do you have in place in your mind to rein in the crime and the violence?
So Chief Breezy just needs help. He needs additional resources. He needs additional manpower. I know with the support of Measure H and getting more bodies hired is great, but we need to have fully staffed for 2020 and additional resources such as specialized units, gang enforcement teams. Our citizens need to know that, hey, we're not just responding to these, we're proactively investigating these criminals as soon as they get here. And so, the chief really needs these additional resources to do that. So that's going to be manpower, it's going to be equipment, and it's going to be starting specialized teams that need to happen.
So let's say you do have the manpower, you do arrest people that are violators, and then they turn around and let them go. So
that's that's unfortunately law enforcement in California as we know it.
Is that because of Prop 47?
There's a few propositions involved, and right now we're dealing with the issue of zero bail. These are all proponents. So as law enforcement, we're not the judge and the jury. Our job is to establish probable cause and do what we can to get them off the street. Everything else needs to happen in the voting polls. It needs to happen as far as to change some of these things.
Okay, all right. So focusing now on economic development, growth, what's your vision for Los Banos, for the growth or for the curtailment of growth or businesses?
So I see it as a two-sided thing. First of all, as far as the housing goes, I really think that we need to catch up on our resources we offer our citizens before we start putting in new developments. And the reason for that is we have to catch up. We can't have large communities being built within our city and not have any emergency services, able to take care of the roads, things like that, to offer them. But with that being said, I would love to see the additional in community-based businesses. I'm a commuter, and there's nothing more frustrating than, you're gone Monday through Friday or whatever it is, and you're spending hours in the car, and you come home on the weekends, and what do you do with your family?
Right.
You put them back in the car, and you take them somewhere.
Right.
And so I would love to see that money be spent here, invest in some community-based businesses, things for families to do, things for kids to do. I think that can definitely start now.
Okay, so it's planned growth.
Yes.
Basically, planned growth right there. Our community is largely made up of commuters going over the hill, and they would love to have businesses that they work at to come over here so they don't have to commute. People are always asking, is Costco coming here? Is Smart & Finance coming over here? Are you in favor of those big boxes that come here?
I'm in favor of doing the research, finding out what our citizens want, and then starting that conversation of how do we get them here? Is it feasible to get them here? And not reinvent the wheel. What have other cities done to bring those businesses here? But it'd have to start, at the research level. What do we want? What do we want to bring in as far as the jobs go? And what's available in this area?
So with, of course, growth and the commuters, more commuters coming in here, it's going to increase our population. I think we're almost at 42, maybe over that. With growth comes good tidings and bad tidings as well, too. And crime's going to increase out there, too. So are you in favor then of kind of curtailing or curbing that type of growth for the commuters, or what would you like to see on that?
So I'm a business owner, and one of the things we focus on is scaling your business. Right.
What does that mean?
Well, it's how far do you want to grow it?
Okay.
You know, so, and that really becomes a citywide question, not just a question for one person. So, you know, what is the city's goals as far as how big do we want to go? But what comes with growing is, are we growing in every aspect, the infrastructure and everything? Because that's where I see the deficiency now, is we're putting in houses, but we don't have enough cops to patrol these houses. And so we need to catch up and make sure that, you know, the infrastructure stays at the same speed as our growth.
Okay.
I think that's very important.
That's key. Okay. All right. So now there are many social groups in town. We have the Rotary, the Lions Club, the Arts Center. We have the Friends of the Library. We have PAL, the Police Activity League, correct? Okay. And we have the Los Banos Downtown Association. We have the Los Banos Chamber of Commerce, for example. How supportive are you to make sure that these organizations are thriving and viable and growing?
Community organizations are essential. Some people might remember me in 2011. I started the dodgeball tournament where we had police officers and firefighters and everybody hitting each other with dodgeballs. But we had a great time, and we raised money for Children's Hospital. That event kind of opened my eyes as far as how important community programs are. So I'm a huge fan of it. And I'll tell you, just looking around the city, these people, they flock to these events. I mean, I don't know when crab feed tickets go on sale, right? What's involved in that. So I would love to see more events like that, more community-based events where people can get together, spend some money, and it go to a great cause. Go to a great goal.
Oh, that's great. I like that, to hear about that. So let's talk about your business. Knowledge Saves Lives. What is that?
Yeah, so we're a training and consulting firm. We're statewide. We started very small. In 2010, I started the company with a friend of mine. He's an attorney, but we started as a Scared Straight program. And we were contracted with Merced County Probation, and we were very successful in the program. Unfortunately, Prop 47 passed, and there wasn't any more consequences for juvenile low-level narcotic offenders, so they weren't sending us any more kids. Right about that time, unfortunately, is when the Newtown event happened, and we began receiving calls about active shooter training. We changed our business model to go with that, and we've been doing it ever since. Now, not just active shooter training, but we do emergency preparedness training for all sorts of organizations. We're contracted with one of the largest school insurance JPAs in the state. I oversee projects usually with around 200 school districts and about 20 colleges, and we do training everywhere.
What sort of training, if you can?
So we do site-specific training. So, for instance, if a school were to call us and say, hey, we want site-specific emergency preparedness training, our staff would do some homework on the site, learn the ins and outs, the geography of it, and then we build a site-specific curriculum so that staff can actually go through drills amongst themselves to learn how to lock down, secure, or evacuate the school as needed. We recently just did one in Southern California. The lockdown time was around 4.5 minutes, and we got it down to just under 35 seconds.
Really? That's interesting. Now, with the lockdown active shooter training, do you advocate having teachers carry a CCW with them?
No, well, CCWs right in California schools are illegal. So they couldn't if they wanted to.
Okay.
And really the conversation with teachers being armed, that's not what they signed up for. They signed up to teach. They signed up to, mold young minds. So to add that sort of level of responsibility, it's not for everybody. I don't see that being something that all teachers would be interested in, let alone taking on that responsibility. The amount of training that goes along with that, that is a huge responsibility.
Huge liability?
Oh, absolutely. For themselves and the school.
Okay, so what do you think about having then resource officers at the school ground?
School resource officers, they're a great, a great resource to have because that is their job. Their job there is to respond to those types of emergencies, and they're trained for it. So having school resource officers on a campus, that's a great resource.
Just high school or the junior high or elementary school?
I would say any school district that can afford to have it. Absolutely. But then it, comes with that comes staffing.
Yeah.
So, depends where you are.
So when you say staffing, are they part of the manpower of the police department?
Yeah, like here. So our school resource officers are police officers from Los Banos PD. And then they're assigned to the schools that they're contracted with.
Do they rotate their assignments?
It's usually at the discretion of the chief,
I see.
however he decides to do that.
Okay, and so and what do they do then as a
So you're assigned to the school. That's your where you work all day, every day, and obviously you handle any emergency situation that comes at the school, working with the staff, communicating with the staff, and then investigating crimes. There's all sorts of crimes, unfortunately, that happen at schools every day.
Have you trained our high schools here about active shooter training?
No.
Nothing
No,
like that?
we've done one high school, I believe, about 7 years ago, and then we've done some other projects with the district, but not trained the individual high schools. No.
Okay, all right. And as far as getting the word out for information, let's say that we do have an active shooter or a lockdown or some type of an emergency right here. How do you propose to get that word out?
So one of my main focuses, if I'm elected to this position, is one, I would love for the city to hire a PIO position, public information officer.
Okay.
I think that's crucial. Right now, everyone that I know gets anything as far as their media source from, like you guys, or social media. And I feel that there needs to be just a one standalone city-provided public information person to share that information. I work with some organizations in Southern California that are amazing at how they share information. There's one-touch apps that you can get that can handle anything from a hospital to a city to share. So if somebody, for instance, were to sign up to pay their water bill, they can have that option. Hey, would you like to sign up for this emergency one-touch app and share the information that way? Because sharing information in emergency is crucial. And whatever it may be, it could be, unfortunately, it could be an active shooter event, or it could just be traffic going over the hill in the morning. These are just things that we need to share with the citizens. And
I agree with you on that. This Los Banos today is a very good platform to spread out the information as well too. We have tried to reach out to our city officials, and they seem to refuse to come here and to disseminate information for whatever reason in there. So having a PIO, a public information officer, would be ideal to come here. Would you also be adverse to come over here and talk to the audience and spread the information, whatever needs to be said?
Absolutely, and I think that's really the way it needs to be done. Is if we create multiple lines of communication, but they're all funneled from one source.
Yes,
that's how you're successful at it.
Okay, all right, that's pretty good. That's basically all I have. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, thanks for having me. This was great to come here this morning, and hopefully people get to know me and learn a little bit more about me in the coming months.
So if they want to know more about you, how do they contact you? Where do they go to find out information for you? You have a phone number, a web, or a Facebook page, or anything like that?
So we're in the process of building that Facebook page. It's going to be, for this. Honestly, I know that sort of election season's coming up, and I don't want to overwhelm people with, hey, this guy's starting early, that sort of thing. So we're kind of just going to stick to the timelines. Everything will be up usually the second week in July to have all that information. I would love to come back and share that with you.
Come back and share and give us more information, how we can donate or
absolutely.
Or whatever is to give funds to you for your campaign and how to get a hold of you and get in touch with you.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That would really be awesome there. Well, we want to thank you again for coming here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And thank you, Los Banos, for tuning in and listening to Mr. Paul Llanez, who's running for mayor. And be sure you get out and register to vote, because in November, I think November 3rd is our election. So you want to make sure you're registered and be able to cast your vote. Other than that, thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, and have a great day.